everyone. My name is Karen Barbito, and I'm the Director of Programming for Support After Abortion. You are watching the Support After Abortion Healing Network Facebook Live. We come to you every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're super excited to have you back again this week. You are in for a real treat. All of you that are watching are in for a real treat. So I suggest right now that you share this link, share it with all your Facebook friends, post it on your Facebook page, because you are going to have the opportunity to talk to and get inside the mind of Lisa Rowe, the CEO of Support After Abortion. Thank you, Lisa, for being here with me today.
Hey, Karen.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. We are on the other side of our second virtual conference, right? What a whirlwind they are, and this one was just so outstanding. I had the opportunity to moderate several, different live booths, and it was so great to be able to, just talk to all of the people that are part of our network, right? All of those people around the country that are concerned about abortion, that provide services to help those that are hurting after abortion. And so, and I know that you moderated, twice as many, if not three times as many as me. And, we talked a little bit not too long ago about some of our favorites, like what are some of the big takeaways that we have. So I thought, instead of having a normal guest on, and not that you're not normal, that we would just kind of allow, invite everybody that's watching into, what our takeaways were and what we want them to know, right? Because listen, here's the real deal. You still can purchase a premium pass for $100 and you get the content, all of the content, what was live, which is now recorded, all the pre-recorded sessions for 90 days. We're just going to give you a snippet of what we were a part of, and we invite you into that along with us. It's gonna blow your mind. So Lisa, start out. What was number one for you?
It's so hard for me to really take everything and make it like an ordered 1, 2, 3, but there were some top things for me that I felt like if I was attending the conference for the first time, or abortion healing has been my passion, but yet I've been doing it all alone, or maybe I've had some ahas in my journey, but maybe I thought they were my own ahas, or they were too big for me to really venture into. So one of the things that I really loved was that we brought men into the conversation at the conference, right? We have been blessed. You've had him on your show, but Dr. Joseph Roebuck and I had an amazing interview live, and he shared with us his personal journey of healing and how his abortion experience really impacted his life, so much so that it impacted his intimacy and his understanding of how to be in a healthy relationship. It created huge voids for him, and he really didn't understand. He brought us into the mindset of a man by saying, listen, maybe women grieve by crying or certain ways, sometimes more outwardly, right? And then men have this inward connection where he said, he drove himself into so many volunteer opportunities and more leadership roles in his work life and these sort of things. And it wasn't until somebody invited him into a healing weekend and he went kind of, he didn't know if he was, wanting to go. And I just not ever seen a man be so authentic, transparent, and real. And I can't imagine how many other men needed to hear that from him that day.
Yeah. And so let's talk about why having him on the conference was so important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For every abortion that happens, a man's involved, right? And so many of them struggle as well. And just to be given permission to be able to grieve that loss, right? To be invited into that conversation.
Yes, because we know 1 in 4 women before they turn 45 will have an abortion. And we've watched throughout time where abortion was initially a baby issue. Don't kill baby, don't murder your baby. And then it became a woman's issue as we began to humanize abortion. And now I feel like we're entering into another paradigm shift where we're beginning to understand that those 1 in 4 women are also 1 in 4 men, 1 in 4 grandparents, 1 in 4 aunts, sisters, pastors. I mean, the list goes on. And so from a therapist standpoint, I am just realizing how systemic or how much of an impact abortion has across generations, across family members, it just doesn't discriminate, right? And you talk about that a lot, but to me, I think our audience and those that are watching now, I think it just really helps to bring it to reality and say, listen, we're going to do something about this. Men are coming forward. They're speaking about their abortion experiences. They're no longer sitting on the sidelines. And we're going to develop a male task force as a result of this. And we've actually devoted 2 conferences from now in April. I know it's like, shoo, let's get through this one first. But we want to do some consumer research and bring some real understanding to men and their difficulty with abortion to the table, so we can bring about change and healing, right?
Yeah. He really broke down a lot of stereotypes. Because I've talked to him in the past. I've interviewed him here on this show. If you haven't seen it, you can look it up in our Facebook previous videos and see the one with Dr. Joseph Roebuck. But he talked about doing a Project Rachel's Vineyard retreat, and he was the only man, right? And he did it. He got through it. And he said the perspective that he had on how women grieve, and then how he was able to show them how men grieve, just really, really kind of tore down some of those barriers and boundaries and the preconceived ideas of what he thought healing would look like.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. And if you'll just allow me to pivot, because you just did a great segue, Karen, you were then able to, the next day, have a conversation with the founder of Rachel's Vineyard, which brought it like full circle for the audience, because it was like you heard him talk about where he found healing, and then we got to talk. You did. I mean, how was that for you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'd never met Teresa Burke before. She's the founder of Project Rachel, and to hear her journey, I mean, she was a tenacious little thing, because she met so much resistance in trying to help those that have been wounded by abortion. And one of the things that I love about her is that she's never had an abortion herself. We battle that mindset sometimes that you have to have been impacted by abortion in order to be able to help those that are hurting. And she just broke down those barriers as well. I'm not saying that everybody could do it. You really have to have a love for Christ and a compassion for people. But I mean, she just has paved the road, for so many different things, not only just Project Rachel. I mean, it blew my mind when I heard all that she's done. They've already developed a virtual way to do Project Rachel. She was talking about some glass things so that there could be, there's a lot of physical movement and a lot of touch and stuff in their retreats. And so just to be able to put your hands up on the glass and have the person on the other side do that, that's brilliant. I mean, I never would have thought about stuff like that. And Rachel's Vineyard is just the beginning for them. They have a retreat for sexual trauma. They have a retreat for clergy and priests and nuns. And then they now have something for military and veterans. It's called Duty to Heal. I mean, I was blown away by her.
Yeah, I enjoyed hearing her. I've not ever met her in person, where we've had an opportunity to meet a lot of the greats, I guess you'd say, in the abortion healing movement. And she was somebody that we were very much looking forward to. It was an honor and privilege for her to see our conference as a place of value for her to spend her time to educate our folks. I mean, we're still doing all the number crunching, but we had over 3,000 people in attendance. And Karen, we did it a little bit different than the last conference. The last conference, we made all the premium pass people, we allowed them to have the availability to watch the live discussions. And this time we said, we're going to do it differently. There was so much of a healthy response to those that we wanted everybody to be involved. There wasn't one session that I recall under 60 people live, and they stayed the whole time. I mean, there were upwards of 100 in some of them. And to me, that was just incredible. As a leader in this movement, Karen, you've been doing this longer than I have. I mean, it just made my heart say, yes, we're doing it. We're doing something new, and we're bringing everyone together. There's a sense of community. That the comments that were going on back and forth, leader to leader, it was incredible. And bringing even the leaders together. I mean, Karen, you led a curriculum panel. I would love for you to share with our viewers what that was like, because that was like, whoa. Yeah.
I'll tell you, up to the last minute before we went live, we were still trying to get people on that panel. Yes. What an honor it was for me. I mean, by no means is that everybody that provides healing and help for those people that have been impacted by abortion, but we had the greats on there and some new ones that I'd never heard of before. So to have Linda Cochran couldn't come, but she had a representative from her organization represent her, but Pat Layton and Linda Cochran and Sheila Harper and Mary McCluskey from Rachel's Vineyard Ministries, and oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. We had Abaddon, Perry Underwood, and Chris Rainey, who wrote a program for men. And he had his own abortion experience. And when he went, knew he was struggling afterwards, he tried to find what was out there, and all the books were written by women. And he just felt so misunderstood. He couldn't relate to what women were saying in those books. And again, I'm not saying that there's anything bad about a woman writing a healing book for men, but for him personally, that wasn't the way that he could heal. And so he wrote his own resource for men, written by a man for men, in men's language. So we had him on the panel. That was really great. We had Trudy Johnson, who has a book that we just came across, CPR, Choice Processing and Resolution, which is a completely non-faith-based program or resource. And I mean, it was just wonderful to be able to watch, number one, watch them all listen to everybody else and learn about the other service providers that are out there, and yet be able to promote their own organizations and ministries. And that being said, Lisa, we're going to primarily for the next 4 months feature each of those resources on Facebook Live. So they'll have about 30 or 45 minutes to tell you about what they do and how they do it, because we want the 9 out of 10 people that don't know where to go for help to know.
Absolutely. And I had the chance of interviewing Mary McCluskey with Project Rachel and Sheila Harper from Save One and others. And it was just neat to see their heart and their passion for their ministry, and for us to get to know them, because one of the biggest takeaways from the first conference, Karen, was where are these curriculums? Who are they? And I was shocked because they're so familiar to us. But what we're learning is that somebody finds healing through a certain ministry and they kind of stick to it. They get comfortable with it. They continue to use it and they don't look outside of it. But what they're forgetting sometimes is that not everybody can get to the same place they did through that curriculum. So it's really important that we use multiple approaches and a variety of resources when we want to reach these 9 out of 10. And that brings me to the Word Among Us approach that was revealed. That Word Among Us, the Catholic devotional company or publication, they just partnered with us to release the Word Among Us non-faith-based approach. And that was really great. And anybody that came into the conference and filled out our feedback questionnaire got a free copy of it. And I was really grateful that we could do that.
Yeah, and I did just get a comment. I want to make sure that everyone watching knows is that I did mess up on this, that Teresa Burke is the founder of Rachel's Vineyard, not Project Rachel's Ministry. So just make sure that you understand that. So let me ask you about those interviews that you had with Mary and Sheila. Was there something new that you learned about either of those ministries during those conversations?
Yeah, but I'd like to go back to your comment, because when I was in with Mary McCluskey, there were so many people saying, what's the difference between Project Rachel and Rachel's Vineyard, and who's this Rachel lady? And so it was really neat. So what just happened for you is so common for the folks that we know are following us. That Project Rachel is an actual program underneath the leadership of the Catholic Church, and it's an abortion healing program, right? And sometimes Rachel's Vineyard is, and this is what I learned from Mary McCluskey, sometimes Rachel's Vineyard is used as a part of the Project Rachel ministry in the Catholic Church, and sometimes it's used on its own in different ministries. So it was really neat to be able to hear the confusion in just the general public and what that is. And Rachel is actually a woman out of the Bible, and it was birthed. And I'm learning too, and nobody's really said this to me, I'm just implying that I've learned through conversations with people that we had to be so careful. Teresa Burke said this at the beginning of her ministry and founding Rachel's Vineyard. She had so much pushback. You remember when she told you that, and we were having this conversation, that we get to be on the heels of these greats that really pushed away so much of the haters, because for so long, the pro-life movement didn't understand, why would you support somebody who would choose an abortion? They didn't understand. And so it was the people like I'm sorry about the sunlight. It was the people like Rachel's Vineyard. And I'm going to stop my video for a second, Karen, and shut the blinds. I'm sorry about that. I'll keep talking.
No
It was the people like Rachel's Vineyard and Project Rachel that were really able to cultivate a path for us to come forward. And they had to kind of come through in these code names so that people would listen and people would feel protected doing the work. So it's been a journey for us to really learn and understand from some of these folks that have gone way before us.
Yeah, it was really good. And so, listen, I haven't watched any of yours, I don't think. I haven't had the opportunity. I'm so glad that I have a premium pass so I can go back and watch it. You can still buy it for $99.99. You can get a premium pass that will give you access to all of the content of our 3-day conference for 90 days. And then you can watch it at your leisure. That's what I'm going to do. I'm really looking forward to checking it out. And the one that I really missed and can't wait to watch is your interview with Abby Johnson. How did that go?
It was incredible. You know, I think a lot of us know Abby Johnson as the person who's willing to say the things that we're not willing to say. She's willing to speak up against the abortion clinics. She's just willing to do things out loud, and the courage that God has given her is incredible. But we got to see a softer side of her. We got to hear about her own abortion experiences. She even gave us a little tour of her house unintentionally, but it just allowed for us to be inside her heart. She has this place on her wall, and it looked like it might have been her living room, where she has plaques from the children that she aborted and another child. I don't know if it was lost to abortion or a different experience, but it was amazing that she felt so comfortable to bring us into that. You know, we've been a partner of hers for so long, Karen, and we're now a ministry affiliate through Pro-Love, and it's such an honor to be seen as a center of excellence by a ministry that does things so well. And I mean, if it wasn't for her and her belief in us, I don't know that we would have grown wings as soon as we did, and all of the work that you did. So it was just like a complete circle moment for anybody watching. It was just really, really, you know, just amazing to see how somebody like her has been impacted herself in the passion that she has as a result.
Yeah. You know, now that you brought up Pro-Love Ministries, I had the opportunity to interview Jessica Russo from Embrace Grace and Nayeli from Pro-Love Ministries. And man, I'll tell you what, that changed my life. That conversation was called Humanizing People. And what we did is we brought someone who had been impacted by abortion twice, alongside someone who worked at a Planned Parenthood. And we just talked about their life experiences and found out that their situations, their circumstances that influenced their decision to abort, and their circumstances that influenced their decision to work in a Planned Parenthood were very similar. It was all about survival. Right? It was all about not shaming family, providing for family. They were contrasting, but very similar. And then just to hear how they met at a pro-life women's conference, and how they were both convicted of their unforgiveness and their spirit. I'm telling you, that alone is worth $100. Honestly, I would watch that over and over and over again, because it was nothing less than miraculous.
Yeah, tons of feedback. A woman actually stepped out. You had received a call on the helpline. Carolyn recommended that she come to the conference. She watched that session and came out from underneath whatever shame and guilt and secret places she was in. And she actually said, I just had my abortion 7 weeks ago, and this is really helping me.
Oh, praise God. Praise God for that. I know we had a man reach out as well. A man that was way removed from his abortion reached out. I don't know how he got introduced to the conference. That's why it's so important to share these Facebook Lives. You never know whose Facebook page is going to come across, and they're going to click on it, and it might just give them the courage that they need to reach out for help. Because we know that listen, Lisa, you know my story. I spent decades struggling after my abortion before I finally got help, and my life took a turn, or many turns that were not in a good direction, right? My life became very dark, and I got wrapped up in drugs and alcohol and criminal activities. And I, healing is it's so simple. It's not easy, but it's so simple. It's painful, but it's so simple. It's just, you move through the process, you grieve your loss, and you come out the other side free. It's never over. I don't think healing is over. But for me, that initial 6-week healing program that I did for the very first one changed my life forever, So, and you guys are so worth it.
It is. And I love that you said the layered approach, because Mark and Tigra Little were so authentic online. I can't wait for the viewers to go back and watch that video, because they were on to speak about how marriage is impacted by abortion and how men play a role in the healing process. And he even says live, he says, I feel like I'm having a revelation right now. Like, I feel like I'm having an unlayering experience in this session. He's like, I don't think I ever realized the gravity of Tigra's pain and how I helped facilitate healing for her. And not to give it away, but their story is a little like, she had an abortion before they got married. She walked into this marriage with this secret, like many women do, trying to challenge herself. It's not his kid. Why do I want to talk about it? I only ever said I was going to share it with the person who took me there. And she talks about that, but she begins to feel the weight of that abortion, and she's seeing it just destroying things in her life. And a therapist says, I think it's really time that you share this with your husband. And she said, it took so much courage and so much for me to bring it to him. And when she did, all he did was open arms for her, and he prayed over her, and he started a ministry with her. And, he's not the majority, I would say, of men out there, but what a great example for him. I mean, he was crying, Karen. And he's a board member, and then we prayed afterwards. And I really feel like the Lord is going to use his position and his platform and his new awakening to really continue this paradigm shift with men. And so, when you said that healing is a journey, it's an unlayering. I mean, we never know when it's coming, right? We have to be open to it. And he was clearly open to it in the conference, and it was amazing.
Wow, moments like that, man, those are like God moments, right?
Amen. Yes.
I mean, thousands of people are going to watch that, and he was, he felt safe enough. We talk a lot about creating a safe place for people to be able to enter into that journey process with us, right? He felt safe enough to be able to be so genuine and authentic, knowing that this was going out to thousands.
Yes. Yes. And, he wasn't the only one. We had a lot of folks come out that had been in the ministry for a while that were saying, you have no idea what this is doing for me. This is healing. We got an email from Sue Ketchum that said, I just was facing barrier after barrier, and they all fell. Sylvia just emailed me, and we're going to have a conversation later. Deborah, I mean, there was people in our conversations that just kept saying, I saw walls falling down. Like, this is what we've been praying for. And, a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this too, I don't always have the vision for something past what I see right in front of me. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are attending or will attend the conference that go, yes, this is exactly what we need, but they didn't know what it was that was being cultivated, right? And so I just want you to hear that it's not just us, right? Because we could be biased. We worked our tails off for this conference, right? But praise the Lord, it's not through our own doing. I mean, Nathan and Janine and our entire team, the amount of strength that God gave us to pull off a conference like this, but it's an answer. It's an answer to this need to bring us all together in a strong community to, Sheila Harper said in our conversation, she just sees the world, she sees the capitals, and she sees spider legs from all the capitals, that abortion healing. And she said, it doesn't have to be through Save One, through whatever. We just want to see abortion healing like a spider web from every capital in the United States and then, abroad. And that to me is exactly what we're trying to do here, is help bring the abortion healing movement to these capitals so that we can spread all of the curriculum or approaches to the people, right?
Yeah, so it's so good. And so, a couple of things that just brought up for me. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the virtual conference that we had that just ended, 70 presenters. Much of it was live during the 3-day period, but that has all been recorded now. You can still get the premium pass for $99.99. That gives you all the pre-recorded stuff that we had at the conference, and now the recorded live booths that we had at the conference, and you have access to all of that for just about 90 days. But you just said, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. You were talking about the Capitol and the spider web thing coming out. And I'll come back to it when I think about it. I lost my train of thought. I got so wrapped up in the conference, but
that's okay, because today's election day, right? And we're not going to get into politics. That's not who we are at Support After Abortion. But we would be remiss to say that 2021 has the possibility of looking different for abortion, right? And so with that possibility, we need to grow our capacity. So to be the spider, and to be the legs that permeate the communities outside of the Capitol, like, we have got to grow our capacity. And that's what this conference is really trying to really help to do, is bring everybody together, get us all into the understanding of the consumer research that Janine shared, to really understand how to do the healing part of our work better, which is, we have got to offer, and this is you and you all day long, and you talk about it all the time, but if we're not offering options, we are missing people in our community, right? We've got to be doing our ministry different and grow with what our consumers are telling us, what people that have been impacted by abortion are telling us. And we're hearing men are impacted, families are impacted. I'm not sure I want a faith-based program right away. I think I might want a slow approach into this. I think I want to be met where I'm at. You know, we had clergy members that were saying, absolutely, a theologian that said, absolutely, God calls us to minister to everyone and to meet people where they're at. And so by offering a text message service like you were just talking about, how do we do this international thing? And like, that's just it. Are we able to pivot, kind of like, you know, are we able to shift, or are we so super glued to our ways that we can't move and we can't see things differently? And I love that this is just challenging and stirring and helping us grow.
Yeah, so I remembered what I forgot before. So thank you, Jesus, for recall. We were talking about, so our mission is to build and strengthen abortion healing worldwide. And we have a whole expansion arm with Jessie Lapak. She has webinars that are scheduled. We'll make sure that you guys get that link. Do you know where that link is, Lisa? Where they can
it's
see
on our website under Healing Network Partner. So supportafterabortion.com. If they go to the link at the top of the toolbar that says Healing Network Partner, and then they'll click underneath that and they can sign up for her webinar.
Right. And so that expansion arm is designed to come along pregnancy centers and ministries to help build your capacity. And one of the ways that we're doing it, and you just touched on it, Lisa, is in that options-based approach. So I had the honor of interviewing Brandon Monahan from Bright Course, and we are partnering with them. That's the old Earn While You Learn. It's now in a digital format. And we're developing training videos for staff and volunteers. And we're also doing Bright Course videos for clients. So that is part of the way that we can build and strengthen abortion healing worldwide. And one of those videos is going to be on an options-based approach. And talking about that, not just offering different programs, not just offering different resources to the client, but the way that you offer the services, right? You know, back in March, we had to pivot where most everybody was doing things in person. We had to pivot really quickly and started to do things virtually. So I had a panel on that though too, but Lisa, I'm going to give it back to you.
And my mom was on that panel, which was super cool because, you know, we got to do a couple of healing groups together. I am so grateful for my mom and her healing journey. It's really helped me in mine. But she is a 70-year-old woman who has pivoted to the virtual platform. Sometimes I want to pull my hair out because he's like, Lisa, show me how to do this on my phone. But she's pivoted and she has grown so much. And my goodness, it's been such a blessing to watch people come from all over because it's meeting them where they're at. It's taking the time out of the drive. And although we know some of the experiential opportunities are not there, it's still healing. And so we know healing happens in layers. So why not just start? Why put a pause button during COVID on? Isn't that exactly what the enemy would want? He would want us to just say, I can't go through another healing program. It's virtual. I'll wait for 10 months until. That's not what he's calling us to. He wants us to stay in community. He wants us to continue healing. And we get to watch the fruit of that, right?
Yeah. And you know, I think with a little planning, right? A little creativity. I mean, we're seeing it be done that like Rachel's Vineyard, 3-day retreat is being done virtually, you know, and they've made adjustments. And honestly, it's God that's doing the healing. It's not the actual time that you spend, right? It's just being in a place where God can speak into your spirit and bring you along that healing journey with him. So yeah, I mean, I love, so our virtual platform, our virtual panel was awesome. It was comprised of people that work in the industry. It's comprised of some of our facilitators, because you can go to our website and see all the virtual groups that we have. I think we have about 10 going right now. In January, we have plans to launch about 15 all in one time on several different topics. You can go to our website to see that. But we had a woman from Switzerland in one of my virtual groups, and she was on the panel. And I got to share this with you. This woman had isolated herself for 3.5 years because she'd been so wounded by her friends, her family, the people that she came in contact with in community. And so she really just isolated and had a very small sphere of people that she would even talk to. And when she came on that Unraveled Roots virtual group, she said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to say anything. And I said, we just said, that's okay. When there's something for you to say, say it. Have the courage to say it. You're in a safe place. We're not going to judge you. And after 6 weeks, 6 short weeks, she came back on and she said her husband wanted to know what she had been doing and what that company was that she was talking to, because he wanted to donate to us because it had changed his wife's life. I mean, that we would never, ever, without a virtual platform, ever met that woman, ever been able to just speak life into her, right? To just show love to her, to be the face of Jesus for her, and God just moved in her life in a mighty way, breaking all strongholds, giving her oh my gosh, she wouldn't stop talking at the end. Like she has a voice, and now people from that group that we were together, you talk about no community is developed, they talk weekly. She has conversations with people from that same support group weekly. She has a community now.
Yeah. That's so good. And, you're reminding me of our Unraveled Roots conversation, because the virtual, we talked kind of how the Unraveled Roots group is good for multi-generations. I was talking about my mom earlier, and I just am remembering Dr. Kathy Cook talking about how providers of abortion healing and healing in general need to understand that we can stay in the symptom, we can stay in the presenting behaviors of the person, their drug use or their anger issues or whatever it is, their divorce, whatever. But the reality is, if we're not willing to go the extra mile and go deeper, so going back to the virtual groups and seeing that the husband found, I mean, that's what that is doing. That unraveled roots, we're unraveling the roots that go way deep, because we are not a Band-Aid ministry, and we're not going to have any kind of effect on people if we just maintain a Band-Aid mentality. Like, we have got to dig into those, open those wounds and let's clean them out, because if not, they're just going to keep getting infected and keep bruising everything we touch. And so I'm so grateful that we've had that opportunity. Thank God for our team and Nathan and his team, because we really have been able to meet the technological challenges and advances that we've needed to have through COVID.
It was so much fun. It was a lot of work, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I invite anybody that's watching, if you have any questions, put them on the chat. We'll try to get to them. We're at about 30 minutes, so we're going to begin to wrap up. So think about any questions that you might have. We had a comment that said, preach.
Well, I want to actually bring to attention like what this conference does. Janine is such a mentor of mine. I call her my mater, my maternal mentor, but she always tells me, like, when you have a deadline for something, like when you're going on vacation or when you have to execute by a certain time, like, you get things done. And that's what we've seen at Support After Abortion. We've set some strict deadlines, but we feel like the Lord's calling us to these deadlines. And with this, it doesn't end up perfect, right? But one of our mentors said, done is better than perfect. And so for those, I just feel like we're supposed to say this from yes, Nathan does rock. But from a perspective that we are always trying to package things nicely. You're a recovering perfectionist, right? But the fact is that we're trying to get things done in a way that we can bring it forward so that we can continue to learn from everybody around us, because we don't know everything. And we don't want to ever be the one that says, we're going to develop and be a proof of concept for people and have training and opportunities and then reveal what we're learning. But we're by no means saying we have all the answers. And one of the things that happened during the conference is we had the topic abortion pill reversal or abortion pill rescue. And I was by no means ready to be an excellent moderator for this, right? And so it was the end of the conference. if anybody remembers, I put my glasses on because everything was so blurry. And Dr. Karen was there with us, and she is one of the doctors that helps to serve on the team. And what we really quickly learned was that this rescue team, or this network, has only been in operation for about 10 years. And it really is just in the beginning stages. You know, if you think of a 10-year-old child, they're still trying to navigate the world and learn to read and all of that. And that's what we're learning about the abortion pill rescue or recovery network. And so I just was really, in retrospect, reflecting on that conversation, realizing, wow, that means we learned that is still so much in its infancy, how it connects to our ministry, but how it really needs to continue growing. And how might we, as an organization who loves to create deadlines and create proof of concept, that we could be an avenue to better understand how to do this. Cindy Boston came on from Auction Line to tell us how Auction Line has taken this over, because the abortion pill rescue folks, it got too big for them. And I felt like we don't know how to be the best abortion healing folks, not understanding abortion pill rescue. Because what we learned, Karen, was that if somebody has a failed abortion pill rescue, and I won't go into the details, that's its own Facebook Live. But if it fails for them, if somebody realizes that they want to reverse their abortion and it actually fails, what kind of pain? And is the abortion healing industry ready to meet that person? What are we going to do? Because it feels a little different than the woman that comes out and says, I chose this abortion experience, or I was coerced. I never tried to revoke it, and I just went on with my journey, and now I need healing, versus the woman that says, I realized immediately what happened. I wanted to revoke it. I tried to revoke it and I can't. So, or I couldn't, it didn't work. And in this generation where we get things and we get things now, I just think that it opened up a box. And I love that about the conference. And I love that done is better than perfect mentality, because we get to learn. We wouldn't have ever known that, right?
Yeah. I found it very fascinating. That is one that I got to catch the tail end of. And I was surprised at how successful it is. It's around 40 to 60% success rate if within a certain time frame that whatever they do is done.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So
and the neat thing about that is, like, she gave us a few takeaways. Number one, she did a PowerPoint presentation that if people wanted like real meaty details, she has that in her bio. But the second thing was that everybody that's on the sidewalks and everybody that is in a capacity to receive phone calls from women and men, is they should have this phone number ready and available, because there is a very short window for people to receive that abortion healing opportunity, or the abortion pill rescue. And so I just feel like we learned a lot about that, and just what we could be doing. And then the third thing was, we need to be adding an intake question. And I said that to you on the box today. Like, we need to, just like we added, have you had military experience? Because we know that you might be experiencing abortion and healing in a different way, or needed a new support. If you've attempted to revoke an abortion experience and you did not have success, we need to know about that as the healing movement to help people.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my panel with military and veteran personnel. We had two chaplains on, and we had Jody Duffy on, who's been on the show before. Before I recap that, someone's asking where they can get the premium pass. If you go to supportafterabortion.com under resources, virtual conference, you can get it right there. So little commercial there. So it was such a great conversation. I mean, so eye-opening how the culture of the military just really fosters greater rates of abortion in their female and male populations, right? And the biggest takeaway from that for me was, I found out that, suicide was a big issue in the military. And there was a general and his wife, I think, who a family member or a really good friend of theirs committed suicide while in active duty, that they went forward and say, hey, listen, this is an issue. We have to do something, not only to equip our chaplains, but to make sure that our soldiers are combat ready, that they're not thinking of harming themselves or someone else. And so my light bulbs go off, and I'm thinking to myself, well, geez, somebody having an unhealed abortion experience can be just as dangerous to that person that's being deployed, if it's them or a family member. And so we just found out that there may be an opportunity for us to, kind of get a foot in the door through our relationship with Jody Duffy and her husband, who's a 2-star general. How great would that be if we could provide healing for those in military so that they could be more focused on their jobs, so that they could protect their brothers and sisters that are walking beside them, and to walk in freedom and wholeness.
Absolutely. And I spent my graduate internship at the James A. Haley Hospital in Tampa, learning from survivors of the Korean War and the Vietnam War and the PTSD that they were experiencing. I worked in a severely mentally, just a lot of unhealthy dynamics. It is probably the best way to describe it for the general population. And there is a unique distinction with those who have served in the military, just with what they've experienced in the military. And one of your chaplains really named it. He said, there's a different culture. There is a very different culture, and you have to adapt to that culture to survive. And if you don't, it's hard. And so I just love that what we're able to do is learn from those around us, similar to what we talked about before. And that's how the conference really was structured, Karen. We were able to learn from Dr. Martha Shuping about these 25 risk factors that we really should be tuned into as people go into the abortion clinics, that these 25 risk factors will elevate somebody's whatever grief, loss, depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety, whatever it is afterwards, it elevates it to another level if they've had these 25 risk factors. So we really tried to take her feedback and bring it into the conference. And so the way that we developed that was we created learning tracks. And so we brought about 15 of them to this conference. So you'll see sexual abuse and abortion, sex trafficking and abortion. We talked about marriage and abortion and trauma after abortion. I mean, the list goes on. And what we tried to do is bring somebody who's experienced the abortion from that perspective. So if it was sexual abuse and abortion, we tried to bring somebody who would share their experience about their sexual abuse and how it connected to their abortion experience. We brought in an expert testimony, so somebody who maybe is a professional in the field, therapists, counselors, maybe pregnancy center directors. Then we brought in a curriculum or an approach to how to navigate that. And so we had people talking about their sexual abuse curriculum. We had people talking about resources for sex trafficking. And then we tried to wrap it up with clergy so that we could see it's kind of from a social works mindset. It's the biopsychosocial spiritual. How does this affect you biologically? How does this affect you from a spiritual lens? How does it affect you from a psychological lens? I mean, we tried to bring all those elements in so people could really walk away, even if they only were able to watch one track, with almost feeling like they took a certificate class, because we're launching our certificate program alongside of this conference. So we really wanted people to have more than just a toe dip into the conversation about that learning track. And then we introduced a special topics track, which were things that kind of we're going to continue exploring and growing. And then the final thing that was really cool is we brought in a Spanish track. And that was like a real toe dip, because next conference, we're really going to cultivate an entire day to a Spanish speaking audience that needs to know how to grow their capacity in the abortion healing realm. So it's we were surprised at what came of all of it. I was surprised.
Well, as you're talking, you said explore. I feel like our organization is like a sponge, right? We don't know what all is out there, but through these conferences, we're learning along with you. And I love that, right?
Yes.
We're learning along with you, and then we're just packaging it so we can present it to you so that you can view it, right? That's right. Kind of how I feel. We're like explorers, really.
That's right. It's so right.
And two things that you didn't say is that we had a networking room, which was really well attended, so people could network and find out about each other. And we had a prayer room, which I had the opportunity to sit in on. And it was there's so much content, and so much busyness during the conference, just to have a moment to listen to a calm voice and get connected to God and be still in his presence, right? And to give yourself an opportunity to hear from him, if looking for unforgiveness in our life or anything like that. It was profound. I don't recommend it. And then you have to facilitate a conversation afterwards, because I just kind of wanted to stay in that moment. But yeah, I mean, we could go on and on, right? Anything else? I think we're at about 45 minutes.
We could keep going.
Okay.
Here's the big takeaway, the networking room. That was a shocker to us. So I'll tell you how that came about. A woman had emailed me from the conference. It said, this is probably too much to chew, but I really think that people would benefit from a networking room. So I want to let you know that I do take feedback. And I don't even remember her name, but I took what she said and I said, that's a great idea. I wonder if people would come. Well, then we had these 2 speaker meetings in preparation for the conference, and what we saw in there was phenomenal. And so then these network rooms kind of came about because we had some cancellations. Here's the back end story, right? It looked all pretty to everybody, but we really, Melissa Oden had to go to pre-recorded because she was going to meet with the president. And there was one other situation where we changed that up too. I think it was your Teresa Burke. We didn't want to interfere the networking with Teresa Burke. So we pre-recorded Jill's content and moved the networking room. And Nathan facilitated that. And my goodness, we had 40 plus people in those rooms from all over California to Florida to, it was crazy what I heard happen in those rooms. You were in one of them. That was one of the big takeaways in our debrief, is that we've got to start doing those more regularly. So after the Viable film, which is coming in a week and 3 days, we're going to host Viable for 24 hours, which is a play written by John Hoover, which really helps to expose how abortion impacts us through our entire life. It's a Black man, woman, and I don't know who the other character is, but it's about a Black woman who's experienced abortion, her husband, and how this abortion experience just goes with her throughout her life. It's phenomenal. We're going to air that for 24 hours. That's coming to a theater very soon. But we're talking right after that, we're going to pivot to how can we facilitate networking opportunities once a month for folks to get together around this topic, because it needs to happen. It's very clear.
Yeah, it's so good. We do have some people asking for some more suggestions on what they could watch if they purchase a premium class or anything that was pre-recorded on men. Chris McCluskey, Jeff Hoquin, I'm not sure how to say his last name, but some additional men content. We talked about Mark T. We talked about the couple, Mark. But can you talk about some of those others? Because I heard Chris McCluskey was really good. We had some great feedback on that.
We did a role play in there about the difference between going in with a formulated approach versus going in with a coaching approach, and being very open to the client and what they're asking for and how to, that role play was phenomenal. I want to be careful not to say, watch this one, watch this one. My advice would be, I would want you to pray going into the conference, discern what the Lord is asking you to know, because some of you are called to do men's ministry. Some of you are called to do work in the pregnancy center movement. Some of you are called to the sexual abuse realm. And if I told you one, you're going to go watch that, and then you might get sidetracked from what God has for you. So yes, there are some greats and there are really some powerful testimonies, but I felt like they all had a message to take home. And I vetted every single one of the videos that came through, and they all fell in line with that track. So if you go to that track, you're going to get the meat and potatoes of that topic. And I don't want you to miss it.
Very well said. I'm going to say, just watch it all. Watch it all. And then you won't miss anything. So anything else? Oh, so let me see. Somebody's commenting that they saw the Viable live. It's amazing. It was very realistic. Thank you for promoting this. So we'll get that information to you out in a future Facebook Live, maybe next week.
I think we should have John Hoover on next week. We'll pray that into fruition.
Okay. So I don't think we have any other questions. We're at about 45, 50 minutes. I just am so thankful that you all hung in here, but we could reminisce about our wonderful experience during our virtual conference just a few days ago, last week. And I'll be here again next Tuesday. I have Pat Layton as my guest, unless we get Mr. Hoover on to feature the Viable play. And we're open to that, and we'll be flexible with that.
November 12th is when Viable is. There's a question there. So November 12th, we're planning on running it 24 hours on the same platform as our conference. And so we're really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Any final words, Lisa?
You know, as we go into 2021, as a leader in the abortion healing movement, as someone who gets to be a part of something so much bigger than myself and my team, we just want you to know that we are so grateful. We are grateful that we get to learn from you. We're grateful that you find this valuable, and we're going to continue elevating and providing this new understanding, this new wave of growing our capacity in whatever way we can. So please continue to share with us your feedback and continue to journey alongside of us, because we cannot do this alone.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.